Hello, welcome to my channel. Welcome back again for those who have been here before. Today I'm going to do another 9th Age Battle Report. As you can see, I played the Empire and I played against Ben Ryder, who used Undying Dynasties. If you've been watching my videos, Ben is who I played in my last Battle Report before this. He was using Dread Elves. So he decided to mix it up. He also plays Demon Legions a lot. I've been hearing he does actually pretty well with Demon Legions. I have not played against his demons yet. Probably will in the coming weeks or months because I'm involved in sort of a league with him and a couple of other guys. So we're just launching that. Uh, all right, let's get into it. Um, Again, I just want to say welcome. If you don't know, Ninth Age is a tabletop miniatures game. This battle report was played on a software program called Universal Battler 2. You can download it for free and play. Um, there you can pay, and I actually do pay this subscription. There's an annual subscription. It's like $30 a year, and what that gives me is the ability to model my own units and to save my armies. So because I like to design the way my armies look. A lot of people like to do that. That's why we play tabletop miniatures, because it's a hobby game. You get to buy your miniatures, build your miniatures, paint your miniatures the way you want them, and then you get to play with them, right? Half the fun is just building your army. On Universal Battler, you still can build your army, but you got to pay for it. Anyway, I think it's worth it. Check it out. I'll put links in the description below. This is my list. I'm not going to go through it in depth, but I did change some things from the previous week. If you notice, one of the big things I did is I took out the knights. I had a unit of 10 electoral cav. I didn't like the way they played, so I took them out. I felt like my previous army, I wasn't really using the parent support system very well. So, and I actually do like the parent support system. I like the way it works. So I took the knights out. Instead, I added another unit of 20 heavy infantry. So now I have two of these. Previous army I only had one. I do use spears because as a support unit with the Knight of a Parent, I can actually fight in 4 ranks with the spears. So, I mean, people can shoot them and kill them, but if you're targeting my spears, that's not what you should be targeting in this army. So that doesn't really happen. Uh, I also added this unit of light infantry. My previous army didn't have that much shooting. All it had was 2 mortars, and I didn't like the way that played. I think it only had 2 mortars. Oh, I had 2 mortars and I had 2 units of 5 rangers. I didn't like the shooting. It wasn't enough shooting. So I added these light infantry. I like light infantry, and I use handguns partly because I own handguns and I don't actually own any crossbowmen, so that's why I use handguns. Also because they're AP2, and let's be honest, most of the time you are gonna shoot 24 inches. The big downside with handguns is that with a 24-inch range, if I go up against elves, especially Sylvan elves or someone who's got 30-inch shooting range, it's really hard to target them. But guess what? That's why I keep mortars in my lists. I know a lot of people don't play with mortars. I use mortars. Specifically, I leave the mortars in my list just in case I play against elves. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't include, something in a list just in case I fight against 2 or 3 different armies. But it's only 190 points, and every time I go to take it out, I ask myself, what happens if I play against Highborn Elves and they have Seaguard? Because let's face it, it feels like 95 to 99% of all Highborn Elf lists have a Seaguard in it. And I don't like Seaguard, uh, simply because they have a 24-inch shooting range, and then if you charge them, they have spears. So they kill you from range, and then if you charge them, you actually get into combat, they kill you in combat. And it's just really hard to deal with. So that's why I bring a mortar, so I can threaten Seaguard from far away. Alright, that's why I bring mortars. I put the 2 rockets in because I felt like I needed something a little extra against monsters and chariots. That was something I had struggled with against the Dread Elves. Mortars are actually decent against those things because they do a strength 6 hit, but that's not really what you want to be fighting your mortar at. So I prefer the rockets. I left the flagellants the same. The other big change I did, besides taking out the knights and rearranging my core a little bit, and rearranging my artillery a little bit, I changed my adept from alchemy to pyro, because I like to take flaming swords and the Cosmo #1 spell, so that I can buff my light infantry handgunners. Handgunners that are strength 4, hitting on 3s, um, is just really nice with +1 to wound. So uh, I took I switched the item to Pyro, left my master as a div. Other big change, I took my BSB and decided I needed to put some more armor on my Arcane Engine Wizard, because in the previous game I lost it to just basic, strength 3 shooting. So I took Death Cheater off of the BSB Marshal and put it onto my Wizard, and then put Destiny's Call into the BSB. I also switched the Mantle of Ulhur. It was on the Wizard, and I put it on the Marshal because I realized I need to have that mantle. If I take it, it needs to be in the front line. It can't be 6 inches or 8 inches behind like the Arcane Engine will be. And then I also switched the Great Tactician. I used to have it on the BSB, and I put it onto the General because the General can cast auras within 18 inches because he's on a Great Griffin. Um, After playing the battle, well, I'll go through that in my next battle report. I'm learning a lot by playing. So, all right, this is what I played against on Nine Dynasties. The big thing to notice here is this is a commander of the Terracotta Army. He did take a pharaoh, and a lot of people don't take pharaohs anymore. Pharaoh on foot. Nonetheless, Terracotta Army just means that everything has better resilience, but it has less ability to be resurrected. So there you go. Otherwise, the main things that I was focusing on, he had a lot of Necropolis Guard, and he put a Pharaoh in one, and it is no mark. Here it is, no mark in the other one, and so they have bodyguard and they have Undying Will, and it's just really hard to fight those. So those units wanted to not really fight. His cataphracts are a little scary, but he only has 3, right? If he had 6 of them, it would have been a lot different. The Colossus gave some good shooting. Things that surprised me about his list when I actually played it, and I'll show you in the battle, I very much underestimated the potential of 36 archer shots. So, there we go, that's his list, you can look at it. Scenario, we rolled up, hold the ground, and deployment was just frontline assault. And these are just what some of my miniatures look like in real life. Even though we're playing online, I wanted to just show you what some of what I've painted looks like. Alright, so here we go. I got to pick the sides. Um, and then, so I picked the top because I wanted the hill. Hold the ground means that every turn after the first, the scoring units that you have within 6 inches of the middle um, give you a token. So my plan was just to sit on the hill with my shooting and just put my scoring units in the middle, protect my flanks with my flagellants and my rockets against monsters. There you go. We went back and forth for drops, and he actually he messed up his deployment because he's not really used to playing with this. We went back and forth, and I actually let him go first. I didn't want to go first, partly because with this objective, I think it's actually better to go second. So there you have it. I also knew that I needed to put my rockets in strategic places. That is the one big problem I have with this army is with these 3 artillery pieces, especially with I want to usually keep the mortar within pretty close to the pyro adept for flaming swords. But it's just hard to position the rockets so that they can actually see stuff with all of my other units. So there you have it. Uh, the other thing I think I made a mistake. Well, I'm not really sure. I don't know that I'm still trying to figure out how to use my Great Griffin General. Not sure that was the best placement for them, but other than that, the other big thing was my handgunners are too far back, and I needed to just deploy them further up. Well, I didn't want them to get shot on the first turn, so I guess that's fair. But anyway, there you have it. Turn 1, so he goes first. He just pushes forward. He forgot about you can't march unless you're within. He thought things were autonomous, and I double checked some rules, and they weren't. So he could not march his Sandstalkers or his Cataphracts because his general is in the middle. So that's his big problem with his army. All right, he got magic. The funny thing in this game, I'm not gonna go through it every turn, but big thing was he's got these two casket of fateps, and basically with their bound spells throughout the whole game, they didn't. I don't think they did a single wound. I just kept rolling the exact perfect discipline. So the way it works is it's a bound spell, and I have to roll 3d6, and if it's higher than my discipline, then I lose that many health points, or I take that many health point hits at AP 10. I have discipline 9 in an 18-inch bubble from the general, but even the instances where he cast it outside of the bubble, a few times later on, I left my wizard outside of the bubble, which is only discipline 7, and I still rolled a 7 or less on 3 dice. So I got incredibly lucky. He was very upset. Um, that's just the way it happens. His magic didn't really do much. His shooting, here, he starts to plink. So 36 shots, he actually kills 2 great swordsmen, Imperial Guard, who have a 4-up armor save because all they have is plate armor, and I failed those. So there you have it. My turn. I push forwards, just so I can start to threaten this objective and make him come to me because I want to get him to be within 24 inches of my handgunners. If you can see here, I moved a couple inches forward with the handgunners. And this was the big mistake. I moved a couple inches forwards, and then when I went to shoot on turn 1, I realized I still couldn't really shoot very much. I only had like 1 rank or something. Was within 24 inches, and I was kicking myself. I should have just on turn 1 marched them way forwards so that I could shoot on subsequent turns, and I didn't. But there you have it. Um, Magic phase. I don't know if I got anything off. I don't see anything. Let's see. Shooting phase, rockets. I misfired on this one, so I took a wound and didn't wound his Colossus. I think I was firing at the Colossus. And then this rocket just did 1 wound to his Cataphracts, which wasn't enough. So then it goes on to his turn. He just keeps pushing forward with these 2 monsters on the flanks. He kept his Colossus back, and he did that because the Colossus has a bow. But the whole game, the Colossus basically just stays here and shoots at me. And if I was him, I would have just used it a lot more aggressively. But I don't know. It's him. He did make the mistake, and I probably should have told him this during Magic, and I didn't. He was trying to bubble cast Stars Align because he thought he could reroll the hit in the aura. And after I let him cast the aura, I then, when it came to be a shooting phase, I told him, no, only 1 unit can shoot with Stars Align. You look at the spell description. Maybe that was wrong of me, but to be frank, I don't know that he doesn't want to have reroll the hit and divine attacks on his melee attacks for those units. So, I don't know what his intent is basically my argument. If he declared, I'm going to cast this on them so that they can reroll the shoot, then I would have said, no, you can, just do a single target cast, not the aura. He didn't say that, so I let him cast the aura version because it didn't matter to me. All right, that's just the way I play. Take it or leave it. His shooting, it's like he just keeps knocking off my Imperial Guard. So that was a little frustrating that with a 4-up save, I was still failing a lot. uh, turn 2. Okay, so charging. I try to charge with my flagellants into the stalkers, and they failed. So now I'm outside the woods. I push these flagellants up, and I'm not. I guess in my mind, I was thinking they have strength 5 attacks, and I forgot to look at the Colossus. The Colossus actually has strength 6 attacks. And in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, they have great weapons. They'll be able to take on the Colossus. Well, it turns out that the next turn we'll see, not really. Colossus is Resilience 6, Strength 5 against Resilience 6. You only win on 5s. In my mind, that wasn't how it works, and I need to remind myself of that. Anyway, here I push forward my Griffin. This is one of the things I'm not sure if this was the best play. I possibly should have kept my Griffin back here so that I could have countercharged the Cataphracts when they came forward, and I didn't. But I wanted to be aggressive with the Griffin and get into his line because I figured I could just outflank him and run down his whole line. I thought that would be better, and I had enough backup to be able to handle the cataphracts, even if they ran over my flagellants. Magic phase. I don't remember what happened. Shooting phase. You can see my shooting's not doing anything, which is disappointing. Then it's his turn. He charges here. I played around a little bit with the flagellants, trying to figure out, okay, can I turn my flank so that he has to charge my flank, but then he can't connect because of the impassable. And then we were talking about it, and we decided if I did that, he would still be able to hit me, and then I would just have to align to him, and I would have less attacks. So I didn't do that. There might be a player out there, and if you guys know how to do it, where I could have angled my flagellants in a way that he could only charge me in the flank and wouldn't have been able to hit me with the impassable. I didn't know how to do that, and we both kind of decided that's kind of cheap play, and neither one of us actually likes that kind of play, so I didn't, I could have spent 30 minutes trying to figure it out, and I didn't want to spend 30 minutes trying to figure it out, so there you have that. So he just charges me anyway. Um, and then he keeps his stalkers back because they can shoot 12 inches, so he just keeps them 12 inches away from my flagellants there. Let's see, what does his shooting do? His shooting doesn't do that much. Now finally, it's my turn. I'm going to put my flagellants into his Colossus here. And I'm going to put this big unit and my Griffin into one of his archer blocks. Right, you can see my flagellants grinding down the cataphracts. But it's taking a little bit of time. Now, finally, by turn 3, my handgunners are in position, and they can actually start to shoot him up. These are my charge moves. Then my other moves, I just bring him up, so if he wants to charge my spears, he's got to go through the ruins. I decide with my flagellants, charging 12 inches with movement 4, I could fail it pretty easily because I need to roll an 8. So I decide I'm just going to push forwards. And I'm just going to get in his face so he can't get away from me, and I'll be able to charge him on turn 4. Which I think was what I should have done the previous turn. Instead of charging him, I should have just pushed forward. Um, that's really all I have to say about this turn. Oh, and then I push right up forward because I don't really, at this point, I think this is a misplay by him. He kept his Necropolis Guard behind his units. So I don't know if he expected me to march forward and charge into him because I wasn't going to do that. Obviously, I'm just going to sit on the objective and make you come to me. Well, his Necropolis Guard can't get in the fight because they're blocked by his archers. And these Necropolis Guard can't get in the fight because they're blocked by his spearmen. Now, the Necropolis Guard are pretty scary, honestly. I was looking at them, and I was thinking, if the Necropolis Guard get into me, I'm going to have trouble. So I would, if I was him, I would have put Necropolis Guard on the front and just marched right at me with the Colossus. Colossus and Necropolis Guard, I wasn't going to be able to handle. But he just used them very passively in the back. So, there you have it. I'm able to start shooting up his line. Um, and we have close combat. I just blow up his archer unit. I overrun with the griffin so that it can't be charged in the flank by the spear unit. And then I turn this spear unit so that I can start to run down the line of his archers so that he can't keep shooting me up. Because you can see my great sword unit is starting to really get diminished. At this point, I don't actually really want to use it in combat because I'm already like half dead. So, uh, and then I start after I put the flagellants in, and they all don't touch either. Was the problem with the angles? I start to realize that on this turn that was a mistake. I should have just kept them back. I think part of my thinking though was I wanted to put the flagellants into him so that he couldn't shoot with it because that's a waste of his points. He paid for that shooting upgrade, and if I'm fighting with him in close combat, he's not using his shooting ability. And also it keeps him back so that he can't come up and charge these guys in the flank, because that's my big fear. Or not even in the flank. If he just puts his Colossus into the front, I'm in trouble. And so I wanted to make sure he wasn't going to get into my heavy infantry in the flank or the front, because he was just going to chew right through him. So there you have it. It's 190 points. Delays him. Did a couple wounds. As you can see in this corner, his cataphracts were able to grind down my flagellants. and then get into my rocket and kill my rocket because my rocket has a minimum range of 12. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, he's only got one wound left, but technically he could kill my mortar, he could kill my handgun unit, he could really mess me up in the back line. So, trying to figure out exactly what to do here. I'm kind of wishing I had the Marshal so that I could have countered them and not lost my rocket, but honestly, I didn't have anything else for the rocket to shoot at because it was too far away from the Colossus. The rocket was just there to shoot at the Cataphracts. Alright, so on my turn, of course, these guys charge into their flank. Flagellants are now close enough they can charge the Stalkers. I then fly my Griffin here because he had turned his Necropolis Guard. So I figure if I get here, this is a move. This move on turn 4, I went back and forth over. So I was trying to figure out because I almost flew my Griffin over here, and I figured if I did that, and I had the great swords and my Griffin and my heavy infantry, it would be very easy. All he has to do with the Necropolis Guard, they turn this way. The next turn they could just turn this way because everything is in front of him still. I figure if I fly my Griffin here and I move my heavy infantry or my great swords up, now he has to make a decision. He can either turn around and face my Griffin to make sure my Griffin doesn't tear up his backline, which would then expose his rear to my great swords, who could then come through his archers and hit his Necropolis Guard in the rear. Or he can turn and face my great swords, at which point my Griffin is free to act in his backline. So I wanted to make sure he had a hard decision to make and not make his decision easy. The main issue was, and you can probably see it right now, I didn't anticipate my heavy infantry here being in line of sight of the Necropolis Guard, which they're going to be able to charge them. So I did turn my Arcane Engine around so that I could cast spells and kill his Cataphract. The big issue, I'm not sure I should have put my great swords forward because now my great tactician, if you remember, the only two people in my army that have orders is the general, who has 2 orders, but I'm way out here, so the only orders I can cast are on this heavy infantry unit. And my BSB has 1 order, but now I'm more than 8 inches away from the light infantry, so on the following turn, I'm not going to be able to issue the accurate order to my light infantry. So in the future, that's what I learned mostly from this battle. I need to keep my BSB pretty much within 8 inches of my light infantry if I'm going to use my general like this. And that's why I also learned from this instance, because of how aggressive I like to use the Griffin, I'm going to put Great Tactician back on the BSB so that my BSB has 2 orders to issue and my general only has 1, because my general is not always going to be around the rest of my army. I know that's counterintuitive, but there you go. Magic phase went a lot better. I was able to get, I think I used Quicksilver Lash on his Cataphract, killed that off so he no longer was threatening me. How did he get a wound through? I think he shot me with the bow. I think he got 1 wound through with his shooting. Alright, and then I did get Altered Side off on my handgunners. Turn 4. What did I shoot? I don't know what I shot. It doesn't look like I really shot anything. Oh, my rocket did a wound on his Colossus. Alright. And then combat, I overrun, but you can still see... He can see the corner of me. And so, I think I was actually thinking I might lose... I don't know. I didn't measure it beforehand. I was hoping I would get out of line of sight, but I don't. So his Necropolis Guard can actually see my corner, and they're actually going to be able to charge me on his turn 5. Flagellants are grinding down his Stalkers, but not as well as I actually expected. So, but it's still keeping his Stalkers from shooting me, and I was afraid his Stalkers would be able to get on my flank and charge into them. So, there you have it. His turn, so like I said, he is able to charge me in the flank, charge me in the rear with his spears, and then he comes up to threaten with his Necropolis Guard here. Alright. Turns that. And then, of course, he just blows right through my heavy infantry unit because he's on my flank. And um, he pursued with both. And then he luckily didn't roll high enough with Necropolis card. This was a big thing for him. He had a lot of crappy rolls in this game, and this was one big roll. If he had rolled a little bit higher on Necropolis guard, he would have gotten into the Imperial Guard and he would have just wrecked them because they're outside of the light. It's not good. With them fighting the spears, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. All right, my turn. I decide I'm going to put my Griffin into his casket, kill that thing so it won't keep threatening me. I take my engine. I think long and hard about this. I turn my engine. Oh, I must have skipped ahead. I put it here so that I can cast. Again, I use Quicksilver Lash and blow up his Colossus. So Quicksilver Lash was doing pretty good work. Better than a rocket. So just something to keep in mind in the future games for how cheap it is to take a level 1 Empire Wizard. Quicksilver Lash is great. Combat or shooting. Okay, so I kill the casket. What happens when you kill a casket is all units within 12 suffer like 2 to 3 hits plus 3 or something. So so that actually did 2 wounds to my marshal, and then it did a couple of wounds to his Necropolis guard. Oh, that's right. That's what I shot. I shot at his Necropolis guard, but his Necropolis guard were resilience 5, which was problematic for shooting. Oops. What's happening? All right. His turn. This is where I also got lucky. His turn 6. He charges in with these guys, so he get his these Necropolis guard onto my flank. And I'm thinking, well, this is really bad because this is a BSB and a 400-point unit, so that's going to be worth, like, if he kills this unit, that's a swing of like 900 points. This is 900 points tied up right here. And with him in the flank, he's just going to blow right through me. And he's going to overrun into my wizard and kill my wizard, which is another like 500 or 600 points. So I'm thinking this is really bad. Well, he rolled like 2 1s. And so they didn't make it. He only needed like a 5 or 6, and I think he rolled a double once. So he just that was just a really bad luck roll for him. He should have gotten that charge. He should have killed it, and then that left my Arcane Engine in a precarious position. My turn. Let's see. My turn 6. I think to myself, if I charge the casket, I'll kill it. But then, when I kill the last casket, I get 2 wounds to me. If I kill this one, it might do another 2 wounds to me, and that's worth 700 points for him. The casket's only 260 points, it's not worth it. And since he failed this charge, I don't need to take that risk. If he had made this charge and killed this, I maybe would have taken that. Well, I probably wouldn't even have taken that risk. It's only 260 points. So instead, I put my Griffin here, which doesn't matter, just to provide discipline, because this is discipline 18 bubble. I charge my Arcane Engine in just to finish off these Spearmen, because it does impact hits. I put Flaming Swords on the Handgunners, so I was able to keep shooting at Necropolis Guard, but I'm not able to do enough wounds. My Rocket finally finished off the Sandstalkers, so I got full points for them. And I killed the Spear unit, saving my Imperial Guard, and then my big block of heavy infantry finished off his spears. So this was how it ended up. Yeah, I just was able to leverage a couple of really bad rolls from him. And I never should have moved the Imperial Guard forward. I should have just kept them back. And yeah, there's probably a couple other things I did wrong, but there you have it. I ended up winning 15-5 because I won the objective very soundly and just scored enough points to get me that. So because it was 12-8, and then it was went to 15-5 with the objective. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate all your views and your comments. Just let me know what you think. If you have any questions about my list, feel free to leave them here. And I just want to leave you with the motto that I came up with this year to that I've kind of changed the way I play. I just want to leave you with this motto: be the player somebody wants to play again. It's really changed the way I play. As you can see, I've now played Ben twice in a row after, even though it wasn't a great game for him last time, he came back, he kept messaging me, he wanted to play again. So I'm glad that I've at least had that impact on him, that effect. And I look forward to playing in the future. Be the player somebody wants to play again. Thanks all. Have a great day.